What is up, my friends, and welcome to another edition of the USFL Week in Review, the 10th edition. I'm your host, Mark Perry, editor of USFL News Hub, your alt football media guru with his glasses on. I don't even normally wear glasses. On this week's show, recap of week 6 of the USFL season, plus my week 7 picks and more. Plus, we talk News Hub Fantasy, next week's show, game picks, and so much more. First, before we get into the show, if you want to be part of the show, it's very simple. Looking for the thing now. Be part of the show. Email podcast@usflnewshub.com with your thoughts, or record an MP3 or video and leave it on your phone. We'll play it on next week's show. Leave a voicemail. Do old school. 888-430-7692 extension 5 to do that. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We're on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Audible, Player FM, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Leave us a review there and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Help us spread the word that this is your destination for USFL news. And you can watch us live. USFL Week in Review every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Twitter, and the Facebook as well, my friends. What is up? It's been a little while. If you haven't heard the news, I had hernia surgery at the beginning of the month on the 9th, and so I couldn't do the show that day, clearly. And I was a lot more jacked up than I thought I was. So waited a week, and still, was that last week? Last Monday? Yeah, so last week did the XFL podcast that we do at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then I was good. I was like, I can only really do one because it was my first day back. Now it's been 2 weeks. So I'm back feeling better. Went on like a 30-minute walk with the wife and dog, and I was still like, yeah, I don't know about this. So I'm getting better, not at tip-top Magoo shape, but I'm definitely here back talking USFL. Was able to watch a bunch of games this past couple of weeks, so it was fun. I had the TV on outside. I was doing yard work, checking in on games, and the USFL is in full gear. I want to know what you think about that. So if you like alt football, stuff other than the NFL, smash the like button. Give the like button a nice little tap. Help us out and subscribe to this channel. Let's get this program, now that I'm back, 20 likes, please. That would be great. Got some bunch of news on a USFL second season. Tickets for the championship game, which I will be in attendance. We are booking all that stuff this week. So I want to hang out with you guys. So you got to go let me know what's going on. Plus your mid-season USFL offensive and defensive MVPs. Leave those messages in the comments, whether you're on Facebook or the YouTube. We'll read those on the show live as well. But first, we got to get through this week's scores, shall we? So my Tampa Bay Bandits lost to the Stars without Brian Scott as their quarterback, by the way. Both teams 3-3. They lost 28-35. Michigan Panthers, they had the first pick in the draft at quarterback. 1-5. 17-33. Your Birmingham Stallions are undefeated 6-0. I think it would be great for the league if Birmingham runs the table and wins it all. I think that would be good. Though, I would love to get that towel that they were giving away. Pittsburgh Maulers, they won. I was stunned that they won. They are who we thought they were. Bad Lee is a better quarterback, and I'm really rooting for him. I was a fan of him in the XFL, his brief stint there in the XFL. 16, and then he was with the Spring League. 16-26, the Nolans Breakers 4-2 beat the Maulers, so they're out. Pittsburgh is out. Gamblers are also out. 25-26 in a close game as well to the Generals, who are 5-1. Thank goodness they put Luis Perez in there. So there you have it. So basically, it's the Breakers, Stallions, Generals are kind of that tier 1, and then that middle tier, Bandits and Stars. Playoff implications abound already, my friends, there this season. So we have the scores there. We'll get to a bunch of news stuff, get to your social media stuff, my picks, DFS. I've been doing good, 2 in a row. I know there's stuff that the News Hub Fantasy didn't flip over and open the accounts for some reason this afternoon. I had to dig more into that, but I can't get to that tonight, so I'll have to be doing that tomorrow. My midseason USFL defensive and offensive players, we'll get into all that stuff. Mike Mitchell's all USFL midseason team. We have that as well. So smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's grow this channel. This is our 10th edition of the USFL Week in Review. And your all football media guru, Mr. Mark here. So without further ado, let's get into the week that was the USFL. So the USFL, this is according to a report, is committed to a second season in 2023 and could add a second market. Interesting. Venues Now recently talked to Carl Adkins. He is the director of operations for the USFL. For 20 years, he was the general manager of the old Georgia Dome. Adkins was brought in 32 days before kickoff of the 2022 USFL season. His role as a consultant quickly flipped and turned into a full-time gig. He had a couple interesting things to say in his little interview. If there would be a year two for the USFL, quote, from what Atkins has heard, the USFL has committed to a second season in 2023. There has been no official announcement about next year, and no decisions have been made on whether all 8 teams will play again in one city or split equally among 2 markets, as well as the possibility of selling individual franchises. Those decisions will be made over the next several weeks, he said, close quote. From our Markcast had this up on there too. If the USFL wants to expand its operations slightly, adding a second location could help optics. Birmingham loves their Stallions, but there is a home game every weekend. The biggest complaint, of course, from the casual fan is watching the games with no fans in the stands kind of gives a feel of a dud. Football fans of the NFL and college expect big crowds and don't know or care what the USFL's long-term business strategy is. That's something that has come up multiple times. Adding a second location for year 2 would show fans the league is for real and growing. People just want to see. I mean, I remember everybody got burned by the AAF. XFL was a little different story, but still, Vince McMahon could have put that on pause and brought it back in the fall in a hub situation, or could have done something. So fans will feel really burned. Just because the team city says Pittsburgh, for example, doesn't mean the fans in the city care yet. They need to play in those cities for fans to start paying attention. I've heard from Pittsburghians that are like, wait, what? Well, but they don't play in Pittsburgh, that kind of thing. It seems like for a team to move to a home location, they need an owner, and the league won't make a move to a full-time home location without one. That seems to be the vibe that I'm getting when it comes to home locations, that they're not going to go out there on their own and pay for a team to play in a city. They're basically building these things up with the hope of selling a franchise to an owner, and then the owner takes care of things. I'm not really sure how I feel about that as a solution. Adkins talks about some of the attendance numbers for games at Protective Stadium. The Birmingham Stallions, the USFL's designated home team, has drawn a decent crowd, 10,000 to 15,000. Remember, the tickets are only $10. Otherwise, attendance is sparse for the 7 other teams with 1,500 to 2,000 in the stands, Atkins said. Atkins says that Fox Sports is more focused on broadcast content than attendance, which we all know, hence the $10 tickets kids get in for free. The article also discusses the upcoming Garth Brooks concert and World Game, causing the league to move the games to Legion Field, which will happen on week 8. They just announced those games playing at Legion Field there. They also talk about the USFL playing its playoff and championship games at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio, which I will be at. Just finalizing that as there. And Art Adkins talking about the logistics of getting all that done. But the good news is, at least according to him, the USFL is committed to a second season and could possibly add a second market. The question, what would that market be? Would the USFL move a team to Texas? You've got a team, you can Houston there. I wonder what the XFL would have to say about that. If you were watching the primetime broadcast of the Stallions versus Panthers game, NBC cut the game and went to local news. So on Saturday night's primetime matchup between the undefeated Birmingham Stallions and Michigan Panthers had been plodding along smoothly. That is until lightning struck twice, literally and metaphorically. NBC's audience was in for a surprise when the broadcast abruptly faded to black with 2:30 left in the fourth quarter. Panthers quarterback Shea Patterson was mic'd up, setting up for the next play when the television went dark. National broadcast faded to a commercial followed by a local news report, game show, or other non-USFL related program. This left some viewers miffed at NBC for pulling the plug. What's that one? Heidi Bowl or whatever? Now, a number of factors came into play that potentially led to the broadcast being cut short. Earlier in the match, a nearly 40-minute lightning delay interrupted the second quarter. Well, this is not the first instance of the lightning interfering with the USFL operations, and nonetheless forced NBC up against their flagship program, Saturday Night Live, which they were just not going to do. The season finale was set to air at 11:30, and Stallions Panthers was dangerously close to eclipsing SNL. In the battle between the Fox-owned company USFL and SNL in its 47th season, NBC made it clear which one took priority. Clearly, SNL did, even though SNL sucks. I tried to watch it a couple times. I'm like, who says this is funny? Lorne Michaels has got to go. Anyway, the game was eventually moved to CNBC and Peacock to play out the remaining time. The score remained unchanged with the Panthers falling to the Stallions 33-17, but the decision loomed large with football fans. They weren't too happy. NBC is no stranger to this particular scenario. The network was involved in the infamous Heidi Bowl during the NFL game on November 17th, 1968, between the New York Jets and Oakland Raiders. In the middle of a high-scoring bout between the two AFL powerhouses, the network suddenly switched to a broadcast movie of Heidi at 7 p.m. due to internal communication stuff. Viewers were outraged that they missed the comeback by Raiders, who ended up winning 43-32. Moving forward, all NFL games would air throughout until their conclusion, followed by local programming of the home team markets, effectively changing sports television. And there's no way that a Heidi game Heidi, the TV movie, would outdo an NFL game nowadays. That was 1968. Had the game been hosted on Fox Network, this situation may have never come to pass, but Fox also does not have a cultural touchstone like SNL on Saturday night to compete with sports program. Either way, a perfect storm of events resulted in a phenomenon that gridiron enthusiasts are all too familiar with. Interesting thing happened here. I get it why they had to do it. This has happened before in other sports things, but it was interesting that he puts up a good question. Would Fox have done the same thing? But if this was an NFL game, would they have cut things short? Probably. They might have. They might have for local programming, but still, it was an interesting development that happened in the first of many new things for this new league going forward. Tickets for the USFL playoffs and championship game in Canton are on sale now, thanks to, if you go to halloffamevillage.com, which basically takes you to Ticketmaster. Hall of Fame Village, powered by Johnson Controls, today announced ticket sales for the USFL's United States Football League's 2022 playoff and championship contest to be held at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium on the Hall of Fame Village campus. The USFL, which launched in April, is a new professional football league consisting of 8 teams split between 2 divisions. We know the deal. Each division, blah, blah, blah. We'll meet in the playoffs on the weekend of the 25th with 2 games played that day. Championship game between 2 division winners will be the following Sunday, July 3rd. Tickets on sale now. They're super excited. Blah, blah, blah. You don't know the whole deal. Thrilling games. These events are right where the goalposts for enjoyable experiences, including football fans have yet to have the opportunity to attend a USFL football game. We look forward to continuing developing our relationship with the USFL and corroborating on more exciting experiences, events for future guests to enjoy. So the USFL Playoffs Day Pass, so on the 25th, general admissions for youth, $5, $7 for a group of 20. Youth group reserve seating is $15. General admissions for adult is $15. You can get the club reserve seating for $30. On the championship game, $40 for club adults, general admission $20, and then the prices go down there. So if you're interested in going, the hotels are moving fast. I'll have to tell you that there is not that many hotel rooms. I guess because also the players are there too as well. Maybe they were the ones that took up space, but a couple of hotels are sold out, so you're going to have to get your hotel tickets. We are going to make the trek from Maryland all the way to Canton, Ohio. Super excited about that. Look to book the stuff this week, and then we will talk about more of what we're going to do and maybe a little get together when the game gets closer. The USFL threatens to fine and suspend players for uniform violations. It was discovered Wednesday morning that starting in Week 6, the USFL will fine players for uniform violations with the potential of issuing additional disciplinary action that can include suspension from the team. The information was shared on Twitter by Nolans Breakers wide receiver Sean Poindexter, who received a notice after their game on May 14th stating he violated the USFL's uniform and equipment rules, with the reasoning being pants must be worn over the entire knee, pants shortened or rolled up to meet the stocking, blah, blah, blah. The official notice read, the uniform and equipment rules included in our policy have been disseminated to every team. Our league officials, head coaches, team directors, equipment staff have issued repeated verbal warnings to players both during the week and during pregame to no avail. Starting this weekend, all players in violation of the uniform policy will be fined according to the fine schedule below. First violation, $250, then $500, then $1,000. The statement mentions all money collected from these fines will be donated to designated charities in Birmingham. Interesting, Sean Poindexter removed that tweet after our article came out. Oh, I clicked it off. So there you have it. So basically, there are some issues with the uniform policy that the USFL is essentially cracking down on. We will have to see. I haven't heard anybody complain about it this week. I think, they don't make a lot of money, so losing that kind of cash, they basically were like, yeah, no, we'll comply. We'll comply. The USFL expands game day active rosters from 38 to 40 players. So on May 18th, to provide more opportunity for draftable grade players to join teams pushing for the league's new first ever playoff, the United States Football League today announced the game day active rosters will expand to 38 to 40 from 38 to 40 players starting in Week 6 for the games this weekend. Week 5 games were the most well-played and most competitive we've had all season. Our current 48-man game day rosters have produced outstanding football for our fans, said Daryl Johnston, Executive EVP, Football Operations. There were more players with draftable grades in the 2022 draft pool than any draft in history. So we think now is the perfect time to expand our team rosters by 5 additional players while increasing our game day rosters to 40. This move will also help set up playoff runs as our 8 teams compete for 4 postseason spots on June 25th. So they basically did that. Practice squad went from 7 to 10, and players went from 38 to 40 after completing 10-week season. Then, of course, they talk about the playoffs, Tom Benson game. Moving forward, each USFL team will carry 40-man game day roster active plus 10-man practice squad. The interesting thing is this came out the day after the XFL announced its partnership with ESPN. So I would assume that, number one, this is probably something that the coaches have been asking for a long time. And number 2 is to lock up more players under contract that will affect the XFL when they try to bring on players. The problem is, now this is more of a cost to the USFL, and I wonder how that is going to play out. Once at the end of the day, what their books look like as far as trying to keep costs low, are they going to be okay with that? But again, more opportunity for players. We are all about that. And there were instances of, kicking and punting the same guys. Now maybe you can get in a couple extra players there to kind of add some depth, because some teams are going with one quarterback, and that is just too little. That could spell doom for some teams.
Let's talk about the Jeff Fisher rule. I was reading the news clips about the USFL, and it's last night. It's all identified, the Jeff Fisher rule. You want to tell us how that all came about?
If that first off, am I limited to just one, or is that it? Is that my shot for the year? Because
you've got history. You can do. You probably do whatever you want now. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, you and I go way back before we both had, help with our vision here. But and we're wearing glasses. But it came up. It came up a few weeks ago. We were in a situation where our opponent scored and trying to figure out whether they're going for 1 or for 2 or for 3 or for 4 or for 8 or for 10 after the score. And so I really didn't get any confirmation from the officials. They were busy doing their stuff, and we're trying to rush and hurry and substitute. So then a few series later, we went ahead and scored, and so in the team, and they elect to go, or so your quarterback's down, or something happens, you want to change. So I felt like if you had a timeout, why not? So I went down that path. Of course, you and I had the conversation, and I discussed it with several others, and we kind of put the pencil to the paper and sorted things out. So it's not a big change, but it's something that just feels right. And so, then of course, when you do that, as having done this all your life, there are those unintended consequences and you have to think the whole thing out. And, at the end of the day, I think we got a rule change that works for everybody. There are the issues that come up with respect to, Team B being the defensive team fouls prior to the try. There's a carryover and all those things, but we got to sort out. So we got a rule I think works well.
Well, the truth be known, when you called the timeout and you wanted to go for 2, the officials were going to let you go for 2. But I said in my
Fox CEO Lachlan Murdoch talks USFL during an earnings call earlier this month. During Fox's Q3 earnings call, CEO Lachlan Murdoch talked a bit about the success of the USFL so far, and rode ahead when compared to other sports leagues with sizable media rights deals. The United States Football League is doing well. USFL EVP Edward Hartman posted the following quotes from the call. Fox Corp's executive chairman Lachlan Murdoch on today's Q3 earnings call. Through its first 3 weeks, nearly 20 million people watch the USFL on TV, and games on Fox and NBC are averaging 1.5 million viewers. That compares favorably to well-established spring sports properties like the NHL, F1, EPL, and MLS. All properties with either recently earned sizable rights increases or expected to do so soon. We are clearly establishing that USFL belongs in this competitive set. The USFL is heading into, of course, that was week 5, which was the same amount of games the XFL played. The AAF, of course, played in 8. It certainly seems all systems are go this season to compete with the championship game, complete the championship game in Canton, Ohio on July 3rd. Making it to season 2 has been the real question. Everyone at Fox seems happy so far. Quote, have you heard today's big football week 4 USFL games grow by 12% over week 3? The main driver for this league in Fox's eyes is ratings. As long as they can maintain this level, we should see a season 2 in 2023, something the XFL and AAF never did, let alone finish a season, which is great news for spring football fans. There was a little dip last week in week 5 of the USFL season. We will see if preliminary numbers seems to be things that are on the up and up. We will have to see how that transpires. So stay tuned to USFL News Hub for all the details on this week's ratings. Mike Mitchell has his mid-season all-USFL team. We'll see if you agree with him. So the USFL regular season has reached its midway point, and 20 games have been played in 5 weeks. As a result, the new leagues and its 8 teams have started rounding into shape. Birmingham Stallions Generals are, of course, the top of the leaderboard. So here is the USFL's 2022 mid-season all-league team by our man, Mike Mitchell. He's got quarterback Kyle Slaughter. New Orleans Breakers have no problem with that one. First in passing, first in touchdowns. Played really well. Honorable mentions, Jamar Smith, Stallions, DeAndre Johnson, New Jersey Generals, Jordan Tamu, Tampa Bay Bandits. Totally agree with that. Running back Mark Thompson, Houston Gamblers. Always pick him in my DFS. First in rushing yards. Honorable mentions, Darius Victor, Jordan Ellis, the Breakers, CJ Marbell, Birmingham Stallions, and Reggie Corbin of the Michigan Panthers. At wide receiver, he's got first Victor Bolden Jr., the Birmingham Stallions, Jonathan Adams, New Orleans Breakers, Trey Walker, Pittsburgh Maulers, Isaiah Zuber of the Houston Gamblers, and Bailey Gaither of the Pittsburgh Maulers. They round up other guys. He's got Johnny Dixon, New Orleans Breakers, Cavante Turpin, and New Jersey Generals, Derek Dillon of Tampa Bay Bandits. At tight end, Sal Cannella is your number one guy at tight end. Other honorable mentions, Cheney O'Grady of the Tampa Bay Bandits. I agree with there. Offensive lineman, he's got center Jordan McRae, Birmingham Stallions. Guards, Evan Heem, New Jersey Generals. Cameron Hunt of the Birmingham Stallions. Terry Poole of the Generals, and Paul Adam of Nolans Breakers. Offensive line, other honorable mentions, Tajin Coman, Michigan Panthers. Marquez Tucker, Birmingham Stallions. Avery Genesee, former XFL guy. Houston Gamblers, Blake Camper. Philadelphia Stars, Damian Mama. Tampa Bay Bandits, Calvin Ashley of the New Jersey Generals. Special teams kicker, Nick Vogel, Houston Gamblers. He's been the top guy. Honorable mention, Brandon Aubrey. We talked about from the Birmingham Stallions. We talked about him, the former soccer player turned kicker for the first time ever. Punter, Brandon Wright, Tampa Bay Bandits, first in punting average, 47.8. Dropped some bombs on that punting leg. Matt White, New Orleans Breakers, get an honorable mention. Kick returner, Maurice Alexander, the Philadelphia Stars. Honorable mention, Victor Bolden Jr., Birmingham Stallions. Long snapper, Ryan Lanigan, Birmingham Stallions. There you go. There. Don't hate on the long snappers. Other guys on the defense, on the edge. Who's he got? Chris Odom, Houston Gamblers. David Bellamy, New Orleans Breakers, and DeAndre Tillman, Birmingham Stallions. Other honorable mentions, Carlo Kemp of the Panthers. Adam Rodriguez, Stars. Greg Reeves of the Tampa Bay Bandits. Defensive tackle, the guys in the middle, Toby Johnson of the Generals. Dalen Mack, Bandits, and Jaquan Bailey of the Panthers. Other honorable mentions is Shakir Soto, the Breakers. Freedom Akinmalundun of the Stars. Boogie Roberts of the Pittsburgh Maulers. He's been focused a lot on the United by Football program, which is fun to watch. On the linebacker side, some of my favorite players in the league, DeMarcus Gates, Birmingham Stallions, great player in the XFL. Scooby Wright, also a great player in the XFL from the Birmingham Stallions. And Donald Payne, Houston Gamblers, as the linebacking core. Chris Orr has played great this season for the Generals. Juwan Hines, Generals. Farad Fernandez, Breakers. Frank Ginda, Panthers, and Vontae Diggs, Breakers, get honorable mention. At the cornerback position, Will Likely, first in passes defended of the Houston Gamblers. Channing Stribling, Philadelphia Stars. I think he played in the XFL as well. Tied for first with interceptions. Josh Shaw, Birmingham Stallions, and Jameson Houston of the Michigan Panthers lead out. Honorable mentions, Devontae Busby of the Generals. Brian Allen, Stallions. Manny Patterson of the Breakers, and Keith Washington, the second of Nolans Breakers as well. Safeties, he's got Shalom Luindi of the New Jersey Generals, Arnold Tarpley III of the Maulers, Sean Williams Jr. of the Panthers, and Micaiah Abernathy of the Houston Gamblers. Some other guys, Drayvon Askew Henry of the Generals, Anthony Coffey, Bandits, Orion Stewart of the Panthers, and Ashari Coswell of the New Orleans Breakers. His final team thoughts. Teams haven't officially released their all-star team. This is just one person's take from our man Mike Mitchell. Big fan of the league. He goes on to talk about all the different players. What do you think of Mike Mitchell's, the insider, alt football insider, Mike Mitchell? What do you think of his breakdown of his midseason all USFL team? Is there anybody missing from this list? We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. We have our USFL Week 6 power rankings from our man Matt Lyons. We passed the midway point. Now we're on to Week 6. Brought another round of exciting games in Birmingham with the playoff race only beginning to heat up. Should be an exciting final 4 weeks of the regular season. Birmingham Stallions, clearly number one. They haven't lost a game yet. Jamar Smith, always a good DFS guy to start. New Jersey Generals staying at number 2. Last week they were also at number 2. Really didn't think that they would be the top team. But they are playing well. They're still ranked second by beating the Houston Gamblers in Week 6, no matter the struggles. Let's see. New Orleans Breakers at number 3, staying at number 3. Agree with all of that. Philadelphia Stars without Brian Scott, Case Cookus, bringing them up. They are at number 4. This is kind of, I think, the top 4 teams in the league. This, with the Philadelphia Stars, could be a team to watch as the playoff run heats up. We know no word on Brian Scott and if he's going to return to the field or not, but they were lighting it up, playing well. I thought the Bandits would be better. Tampa Bay Bandits move from 4 to 5. The Bandits fall to 5th ranked spot after a tough loss to the Philadelphia Stars. George Hammond played one of his best games of the season despite the loss, competing 24 of 40 passes, 333 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Also 9 rushes for 61 yards. Just didn't make it there. Houston Gamblers, who are a good team, just can't put it together. Last week they were 8. They moved up to 6, even though they lost. They heartbreaking 1-point loss to the Generals. Marks the 3rd straight Houston's lost a game at the last second touchdown. This keeps happening to them. Oh, but they are a good team. Michigan Panthers, with the number 1 overall quarterback, still not very good. Jeff Fisher's team, were 6th. They are now 7th. Moved to the 7th spot after taking a loss to the Stallions. Everybody's losing to the Stallions. Shea Patterson played a good game, competing for 24 of 35, 209 yards, touchdown, and interception. Also rushed 5 yards and a touchdown on 3 carries. Reggie Corbin played well. Lance Lenore Jr. and Devin Ross all played well, just couldn't put it together. And finally, we are who they thought they are, but they actually won a game not too long ago. Pittsburgh Maulers, they were 7th. They go back to 8. Love the fact that they have Vad Lee on their team. They tried to mount a little comeback late. Mondre London led the rushing attack, 10 carries for 50 yards. I think, honestly, Pittsburgh Maulers' problem is the coaching, the play calling. He needs to give it up and let somebody else be the offensive coordinator, Kirby Wilson. So you got the Birmingham Stallions. Then you have New Jersey Generals, followed by the Nolens Breakers, Philadelphia Stars, Tampa Bay Bandits, Houston Gamblers, and Michigan Panthers, and Pittsburgh Maulers. I don't see this list changing much. Maybe just between the Stars, Bandits, and the Gamblers are out. So the question is, can Birmingham run the table? And it'll be very interesting to go into the championship game undefeated and then they lose. Because if they go into the game undefeated, whoever they're playing, I'm rooting against. I was hoping it would be my Tampa Bay Bandits, but they need to get things together or they're going to be out of the playoffs quickly. All right, we'll be back with this commercial break. We'll be back with your social media stuff right after this and my picks. Stay tuned, my friends.
Coming up this week on the Markcast. Well, last week was the Talent Wars, and now this week we have the Broadcast Wars. The XFL has announced their 2023 TV deal. Going to be breaking down all of the details, filling you in on some new information we've uncovered. Plus, we're going to be comparing it to the USFL TV schedule. Which alternative football league has the better broadcast slate headed into 2023? You might be surprised to hear what I have to say. Plus, lots of chatter has come out this week from both Houston and St. Louis. Both cities potentially preparing for XFL franchises to return there. Going to bring on Evan Wilsmore from XFL News Hub to break it all down. Then all your regularly scheduled USFL programming. We're midway through the season, approaching week 6. Ian Harditz of PFF joins the show to give his thoughts.
I really enjoyed it, man. Like the biggest hate pushback I kind of see on it, like I'll post a highlight of a sick one-handed catch and people are like, oh, look how the stands are empty. Like, get over it, man. Every game is in Birmingham. I'm not surprised that people aren't lining up to go sit in the stands for hours on end.
Adam Levitan of Established to Run also drops by to share his analysis and thoughts so far of the USFL season.
To me, the USFL product is just a worse version of the NFL, which is still cool. But I was just hoping that they would go for something different.
Plus, the CFL season hangs in the balance. They're trying to resolve the strike. Players are protesting. I bring on Football Canada President Jim Mullen. We have a very thoughtful discussion about how the league will be able to move forward following this divisiveness.
At the end of this, you want a mutually beneficial partnership. A lot of the rhetoric that's come out of this from both sides, quite frankly, doesn't match up with the on-ramping from the previous year that led into it.
Should be a really great show. Thank you all for your support. Please like and subscribe.
All right, my friends, let's get to last week's scores. So we kind of went over them. We'll have my picks coming up. Clearly we'll do this segment next week, but I didn't make any picks because I was off because I had the hernia surgery. So what about this week? Who cares about that? This week, New Jersey Generals, Tampa Bay Bandits, they need to win. My Tampa Bay Bandits need to win. I don't think they're going to do it. New Jersey Generals are playing good. I think they get 21-18 over my Tampa Bay Bandits. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Generals are playing too well. I don't know. It's going to be a close one, I'll tell you that. That's for sure. Game 2, Nolans Breakers, Michigan Panthers. Nolans Breakers 24-12. Michigan just not putting up big offense, and their defense isn't that great. So I think Nolans gets this win. Birmingham Stallions versus Pittsburgh Maulers. Anybody want to bet their house on who wins this game? Not that gambling is a good idea. I'm a Christian guy, and gambling is a bad thing across the board, even though you can have fun with it, but people just get addicted to it. If this is not a lock, I don't know what is. Birmingham 32-12, Pittsburgh Maulers. Love Vadley. Hope that he does well. I would love to see a close game, but Pittsburgh has not faced Birmingham yet. As far as maybe they have. I don't know. I have to look at the thing. But Birmingham is going to roll Pittsburgh quick. I mean, the undefeated team against them, yeah. Philadelphia Stars, Houston Gamblers. Got to go Philadelphia Stars. But it's going to be close because Houston keeps losing by a point or a touchdown. So that's why I put that one close. So the full games, I think games to watch this week is New Jersey Generals versus Tampa Bay. Generals, I think, get the win 21-18. Nolans Breakers, Michigan, and Birmingham, Pittsburgh are going to be blowouts. That's going to be no competition there. Philadelphia Stars, based on the record, you'd be like, yeah, Philadelphia's going to crush them. Houston could win this game. They have been so close. They could take the Stars, but then Tampa needs to beat the Generals. So those are two games, New Jersey, Tampa, Philadelphia Stars, Houston Gamblers are the games that you're going to have to watch. Will be close ones. Will be good ones this weekend. Check schedule and times. Just check USFL News Hub. Now on to the DFS. Mark's picks last week. I won some money last week. I had Jamar Smith, Mark Thompson, Dixon, Lance Lenore Jr., Satterfield, because I just had to get him low just because I needed somebody to fill in that spot. Jamal Adams from New Orleans, and then the Breakers defense I take every single time. I got 71. The guy who won it all also took Jamar Smith. He got Mark Colburn, who went berserk, 12 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, 140 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, just lit it up. Gaither got 47, but he got 10 points. That's a tough, man. You really want to start a wide receiver from Pittsburgh, but he's been the good one there. Victor Bolden Jr. with the 66%, 18 receptions for 3. He didn't really do much. He only got 3 points. Ellis got 75% start. Didn't really do much. 13 points was decent. Bo Scarborough, that's the guy. 100 rushing yards, 23 points, and then he had the Gamblers defense. Got him 17 points. So that was the winner there. This week, this is my preliminary picks. We still have to see how things shake out. This is kind of my preliminary one. One of the things that we've noticed in games with the USFL is that they'll keep going to the same guys. Colburn did good last week. They'll utilize him again. And Houston is not doing well, even though I think their defense is a little bit better. Jamar Smith, you always got to kind of start him. They're going against Pittsburgh. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe this is a blowout and they might pull him. So that might be a guy you might want to start. Thompson has always been good every week. JoJo Ward threw him in. Maybe Houston gets a little something going on in the game. Turpin had a good game last week. He's been a guy that's been consistent. I think he might finish the season as one of Mike Mitchell's top guys. So I put him in there. And, of course, always taking the Breakers defense because also they're playing Michigan. So it's guaranteed at least 1 interception, if not more. So those are my picks this week. My preliminary early DFS picks. That could change later. Hang with us on social media, on USFL News Hub. Just look us on all the social media stuff, and we will find out more information, and things might change. But that's the preliminary ones for this week. All right, we'll take a quick, we'll actually just hit the bumper, and we'll go into our final segment of the show. All right, we are back. I was gonna do like another commercial break or whatever, but I was like, nope. What's up, everybody in the chat room? We'll get to your social media stuff, and then we'll wrap up this show. Thaddeus Weiss says NBC cuts primetime game. That doesn't bode well for the USFL. Yeah, I mean, I get why they needed to do that. It was a bad look, but not really. I mean, they kind of had to do that. They put the game on other places. If it was on Fox, would they have switched it? And if it was an NFL game, would they have switched it? But the NFL, hey, they're paying a lot of money for the NFL. I don't think the NBC is paying a lot of money for the USFL, but who knows? Star Wars Satan. Okay, he says, how does this channel only have 300 subscribers? People are dumb. This channel rocks. Thank you, Star Wars Satan. I appreciate that. I love Star Wars, but I don't like Satan. So that's kind of weird. But okay. So help us out. Smash the like button. Let's get at least 20 likes and subscribe. If you like all football, then subscribe to this channel because we're covering the USFL. We have XFL News Hub covering the XFL, and we have CFL News Hub covering the CFL as well. Marcin says, hey, do you think Smith and Johnson are the best QBs in the USFL? Kyle, man. Kyle, and as he gets more healthier, I think a lot of people think Kyle Slaughter will be on an NFL roster after the season, but I like Jamar Smith. The thing with generals, I mean, you have, the switching of, Luis Perez played a lot more. I don't like the two combo deal there. Thaddeus says midseason offensive MVP is Kyle Slaughter. Midseason defensive MVP, Scooby Wright. I like those two picks. Slaughter is definitely some of these running backs might grab it. If they do some monster games like some of these guys have been doing, that could change some things. Defensive, I like DeMarcus Gates. 2, Scooby Wright has played well. You have to pick somebody from Birmingham, and though the linebackers are it. And I love Scooby Wright. I like DeMarcus Gates too. Both are play. I might tip my hat to Gates a little bit. Mike G says good ratings on Saturday. Cool. Gregory says go Stallions. 1.1 mil for Tampa Bay, Philly, and 1.3 for Birmingham, Michigan. Yeah, those are great numbers. And one of the things that I've said too is you're going to find that the numbers will be up. And then as we start having this playoff push, really week 8, you're going to get a lull, week 7. But then once we start to get to week 8, and playoff implications and that kind of thing, I think there'll be more fans interested in it. It's just a new thing where fans aren't used to having football going on right now. And it'll be, the real numbers are going to be, what's going to happen with that championship game. How's that going to look like? Gregory says, no problem with moving the game to CNBC. Stallions had the game under control. True. Mike G says, rip DC Defenders. Yeah. There's the DC Defenders. Hearing all sorts of things they might not come back. Chris says, love you guys. Mike and Jeff are the best. Happy, happy, happy. Leave the gun in the pocket offense. Take the Canella. And he also says, love Mike Mitchell's take. Yes. Mike Mitchell is alt football insider extraordinaire there for us on XFL News Hub and USFL News Hub. We are blessed to have him on our team. That's for dang sure. All right, let's get to your social media stuff real quick, and then we'll wrap up the show. I'm talking about our MVPs. Michael says, offensive MVP, Slaughter, easily by far with the most passing yards. Defensive MVP, Shark Dog's talking about Scooby Wright. I hate his team, but he is making games more fun. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of DeMarcus Gates and Scooby Wright. But, man, if the Birmingham Stallions go into the championship game undefeated against, like, New Orleans, Breaker, I'm got to go with the underdog. Though it would be cool if they went undefeated. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll just let my wife pick who we're going to pick as the team because she'll just go with whatever colors are nice or something. Maybe we'll let her pick. Talking about New Jersey General edging closer to a playoff berth. He said, Burns says, I thought they clinched. That's from our own Mike Mitchell. I don't think it's just there quite yet. The UCFL committed to a second season in 2023 and had a second market. Michael says, what does a second market mean? Because the article says one city second market. So I think second market, it would be a second city is essentially what I'm thinking, is that they would be Birmingham would be one location, and a second market would be Pittsburgh, Houston. I doubt Houston. Would they go to Florida? Could be, Tampa Bay. Could be another place. One of the things, Michigan, I've heard people talk about Michigan as probably a good spot. One of the things you have to consider is how close they are. They really put all these teams very close together with the idea that in the future that the travel, it's not like they put a team in LA or Seattle or, Connecticut or Vermont or something like that. They tried to keep the teams relatively close together. I mean, they could do New Orleans. It's kind of close by. But one of those markets that's the way I think they should do it, to keep generating that fan interest so that they believe that the league is for real. And talking about the Philadelphia Stars, they need a healthy backup QB. I agree, from Scott Anthony. They are talking about that. Totally agree with him there. Let's see. What else do we have? Nothing on the Insta. The YouTube. On the Twitter. At the Royal Paint says the football game is 3 hours long. The Preakness is not going to make people watch a football game for 3 hours if they don't want to. Talking about the ratings, Marcast put 1.3 million. Nice increasing rating, but the contest significant reason at Sinatra Winery was that because the Preakness running prior, and that's what Royal Paint says. He didn't kind of believe that, but okay, yeah. Talking about the TV ratings at S_Akbar65 aren't they filling up the stadium during Stallion games? 10 games is a lot. There's a game every weekend. And I think it takes time. There's this thing, it's like interest in the beginning, it pulls back, but they're doing giveaways. I mean, the tickets are cheap. They're just trying to get fans in the stadium. The gate is not that important to them. But yeah, I mean, you would think, if St. Louis had a team, or San Antonio, do you think they would sell out every single weekend? That's a problem too. So mixing it up, I think next season would be good. At Chris McDonald, talking about the ratings and such, I think it may have made a slight difference, but I doubt it much because it was already pre-scheduled well in advance, so I can't say they intentionally did it. It just fell that due to scheduling, and when the Stallions play prime time, they always bring good numbers no matter what. Again, talking about the ratings there as well. Daniel Graham with a bunch of numbers. He says it was pushed to CNBC. You could still watch. Networks do it all the time. That's a good point as well. And finally, Realist Ralph says, I like Cookus a lot. I think he's better than Brian Scott. To be honest, Birmingham is much better when Mago is on the bench, by the way. New Jersey is the best team. Agree with those. Cookus is better than Brian Scott? I don't know about that. Realist Ralph, I'm not sure I agree with that statement. I'm not sure. All right, we've got a ton of emailers here. We'll just rip through them briefly. On the second season, DC says the USFL needs to come up with a more lucrative game package that includes transportation and hotel for fans of various towns, out-of-town teams to travel to Birmingham to attend, especially market when those teams are home teams. But they don't care about that stuff. They are not interested in bringing in, and it's hard to get to Alabama. It's expensive to fly to Alabama. Trust me, I looked at it. And you get ticket. I just don't think, but there's no home vibe yet there. They got to either move it to or play at least one game in their home market every season. That should be the commitment that they make. Fly them out, have them play a home game in their home market. Just one. That's all you need. That would really generate some interest there. Jason says it's pretty obvious that Birmingham team is going to draw more of a crowd because it's played in Alabama. I mean, how more obvious can it be? Can we actually sit down and say that these other teams aren't getting as much as fan base because we have limited to one state? Duh. It also gives the Stallions an advantage in playing a home game, away game versus because they really don't have to go far. The only way these teams will reach their proper fan base potential is if they relocate to their own states where the fans can actually attend games. I mean, come on, people. Yeah. Dan says the XFL, USFL should play each other and stop crying about wearing the same dress at the party. If they merge, that wouldn't surprise one day. We'll see. Leon says, with the added pressure of the XFL, will the USFL expand to bigger markets or at least have preseason games in the team's cities for a trial? Preseason games might be an idea, but they're trying to save money. And I think the only way the USFL moves teams to a home location is if somebody else is paying for it. That's my guess. John says, I think a northern hub and southern hub would work well. I would have the northern hub at Ford Field, as it would be the home of the Michigan Panthers, and it would be home team for the league while cut costs in the upstart league. Also, Ford Field is climate controlled, so no weather issues. So north Ford Field, Detroit would have the Panthers, the Maulers, Stars, and Generals. Protective Stadium would have the Stallions, Gamblers, Breakers, and Bandits. And he's got a whole breakdown of playing things and also playing the championship game in Canton, Ohio, which I think is really cool. And I hope they keep doing that as well. Rich says, my name is Rich, gave me his address. Wonder if I can send him complimentary merch. Huge USFL fan. Watches every weekend. Well, somebody sent me some free merch first. I had to pay for mine, broski. No way. You send me. I haven't gotten anything free. Why would you get stuff free? Yoda has come into the show. Yoda, the Yoda from Star Wars. He says, all I wish for was Mahler's tickets for the past 38 years, and now they finally return from the dead only to lose to New Jersey again. I look on TV and still see Herschel Walker and his boy Trump in the news messing up good things. What a crazy world. USFL is a ton of fun so far, but MFB getting hurt nearly every play. Almost like playing both ways. Tough. There you have it there. Let's see. Chris says, I attended the Birmingham-Tampa game Saturday. After seeing a collision between Birmingham running back and Tampa Bay, I believe D-back or linebacker, you need to ban and penalize any player propelling another player forward. Magoo did this twice. The second time ending in a huge collision. It's not only dangerous, but really stupid football. I hope you end this practice ASAP. He's talking about there. Rob says, where can we stream the games live? Peacock, Fox Sports app. NB says, Noah says, hello to the USFL. The key to a good football product of the football field is to have good quarterbacks. What the USFL needs is a quarterback incubator that's owned by the league. This will be a place where quarterbacks are trained to be optimally fit, as well as given the best honing of their throwing skills. This will enable great quality control to make sure that teams have the best quarterbacks. This could be expanded to other positions, but in order for the league to survive, when people tune in, we need to see great quarterbacks. Now, that's an interesting thing because I am really curious what the USFL is going to do for its offseason. Are they just not going to do anything? And then we'll see you 3 weeks before the season starts, which would be a bad look. Or are they going to, maybe have a training camp in Birmingham, get the guys out there again, but they're not paying them that much. So I don't think they can really use much of their time unless they do some kind of weekend thing. But again, they don't want to spend the money. They're just looking for football games on TV more than anything else. Randy says, regarding the Tampa Bay games, blown spot by the official that caused by the challenge by Tampa Bay head coach. Why should Tampa Bay head coach be penalized for calling a challenge of a blown call by the referee team in NFL training camp? We'll switch to watch motocross or my lottery dream home. Dang, bro. Dang. All right, let's get to a phone call before we wrap this program up.
Hey, what's up, Mark? James here. I am super impressed with the play of the USFL overall. I think it's a good product. I think some of the innovations are good. I wish that there was more fans in the stands for non-Birmingham games, but I understand it's a hub model. Not really a lot of fans are going to come out unless it's Birmingham for obvious reasons, but the TV ratings are all that the league seems to care about at the moment, which is good because the TV ratings through 3 weeks have proved that people like spring football. They want more football. Football is king. One of the major things I did have an issue with, Kirby Wilson. Kirby Wilson. As a Steelers fan, I was really, 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 really excited for him to get a chance to be the play caller, to be a head coach. But I have seen nothing but blaming players, cutting players for weird reasons. We don't have to get into that. You already know all that. But I am just so disappointed with the Pittsburgh Maulers in selecting Kirby Wilson. I had no idea. I thought, he comes from the Steelers organization. I thought, the Steelers know how to have a coaching tree. You know what I mean? So I thought, this guy's going to be good. This guy's going to bring the Steeler way. This guy's going to bring the Mauler way. Be the players coach. But that did not happen. And I am really, really unimpressed by all of it. So I'll give him a season. But USFL next season, maybe look at a new Maulers coach, in my opinion.
All right. Thanks for the phone call. Appreciate you checking in. God bless you, sir. James checking in. Kirby. Seems like a nice, I don't know, man. I don't know. But he definitely needs to give the play calling to somebody else. But he's waited his whole career to be able to call plays. But, he's kind of learning. He's got a great pedigree, coached a lot of great players. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be something when we get to about week 8 or 9 or 10, it would be like, who do you think is going to be coaches going to be let go? Who do you think is going to get NFL tryouts? Remember, all those guys that get NFL tryouts could choose then, if they got cut from those NFL teams, to join the XFL, the CFL, or the USFL, go back to the USFL. So it's going to be real interesting to see how that shakes out. It's going to be interesting to see how the league decides to do its off season. What other plans they have. How are they going to up their game for season 2 is really what we all are kind of interested in to find out. But so far, everything has been good. If the XFL wasn't around, I think I would feel real comfortable with it. The fact that the XFL is around, I'm a little concerned about the future. Again, being just only on Fox, it's almost like it's Fox versus Disney battle going on here for spring football, is the vibe that I'm getting. There was a little bit of a hit piece from a Fox-owned outlet, Outkick, trashing, ESPN and why does Disney have it. And there's a lot of Kool-Aid drinking from the Fox side of things as well. They think Fox is great. Fox is not great. Fox, to me, is like Walmart as far as brands goes. So I'm not a fan. I like Family Guy, but other than that, I'm not really like, oh, Fox. So they're like, hey, we're on Fox. We're awesome. So nothing can stop us. And it's like, but you're not on ESPN, and they're not going to cover you. You're on NBC. Mike Florio's and old dudes from ESPN from 100 years ago. That's your business model. They're both. I'm not a fan of ESPN or Fox. Having the games on Fox and NBC are huge numbers, and to have them on both there is fantastic. Even if they slide some games on Peacock or USA, I mean, that's just so be it. That's going to be the real battle. It's really a battle between Fox and Disney going forward, and we'll see who wins. Now, Disney's market cap or market, whatever you want to call it, is like almost $200 billion, where Fox's market cap or whatever is like $20 billion. So we will see. But yeah, as far as Kirby, I mean, I love the business of sports. That's my thing. A lot of you guys are players and coaches, and I'm the business of sports. I love talking about the business of sports. But as far as Kirby Wilson goes, he's got to be the first guy to go. But, I don't think if they sign 2 or 3 year contracts with these coaches that they're guaranteed money, the league is not going to get rid of them because they're trying to save money. So Kirby could be back next year. We will have to find out. Matt G629 says, drop by to say thanks for the podcast and coverage. Loving the USFL and your coverage. Go Breakers. I like the Breakers' best uniform out there. Love the Breakers uniforms. Hey, Thanks for Mike G, Greg, Marcine, Star Wars Satan, Thaddeus, all for checking in. Chris Mason as well, checking in on the podcast. Really appreciate you guys. We're back at it finally after a little break. We'll be back next week. Fantasy football is going well. I just have to figure out what's going on. I will do that tomorrow morning, see what's going on with that, why that didn't work. I'm very confused, but I need to check a bunch of stuff for that. And so we'll have that wrapped up and going forward. So that's been a lot of fun, being able to do fantasy football, really getting to know the league and the players. It's been a lot of fun. So if you want to be part of the show, it's very simple. As soon as I can find it, there we go. Podcast at USFL News Hub with your thoughts, record an MP3 or video on your phone. We'll play it on next week's show. Leave a voicemail, 888-430-7692. Extension 5. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. USFL Weekend Review. We would really appreciate that. Help spread the word about the podcast. You can watch us live 9 p.m. Eastern every Monday, though we might be delayed sometime. You'll just have to be patient, but we'll always be there on that as well. All right, my friends, that's it for this week. Enjoy the games. It should be another fun week as we start to gear towards the playoffs. We will have more announcements about where we will be for the championship game. We would love to meet you guys in person. I think that would be a lot of fun as well. So we'll have more details. Hopefully I'll lock in everything for next week. And then we can start talking about, as we get closer, where we can all maybe have a meetup that Friday night is where I'm kind of looking. Friday night, have a kind of meetup. Saturday night, I would definitely want to check out Canton, Ohio, and check out the Hall of Fame. Do that, and then the game, maybe get a little meet up somewhere for the game on Sunday before we head over to see the championship game, and then we'll drive back home on July 4th. So it should be a fun weekend. Can't wait to hang out with some of y'all. All right, that's it for me, folks. God bless, and I will see you all later.